Thursday, May 23rd, and here we are. We're going to do a little live today talking to a brand new real estate agent in the market with Keller Williams VIP that we just helped close her first deal. Iris Elena, she was a fantastic agent to work with, and I actually think she has a lot of, from the experience, a lot of the good education that she kind of familiarized herself with throughout the process of, we were able to get her first deal again closed from start to finish in 17 days. And I want her to talk a little bit about in those 17 days what she experienced, what it was like closing her first deal, how she was able to make the first deal happen. And then we'll drill down a little bit further into all of the above. So give me just a sec, guys. I'm just in the middle of some quick text messages that I'm wrapping up here, and we will go from there. So let me go ahead and send this email this invite to Iris. Hold on one second. Give me just one moment. And this morning, we're live on Facebook on 2 different accounts, my personal and business, on LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram, guys. So we are definitely out there doing our thing. I haven't decided yet if the background music is going to be too loud or annoying during the conversation, but we'll see. I may or may not turn it off when Iris gets here. But how exciting is that, guys? Getting your first deal closed, funded, and finalized in 17 days. Feels pretty good. I look forward to hearing from Iris's end how she enjoyed the experience and what she was able to kind of take away from it moving forward and kind of establishing herself here as a realtor that has now closed a first deal. All right, she should have the email here any second, and we'll get her on. There she is.
Nervous.
Hello, what's going on?
How are you? Can you hear
Hi,
me?
Iris. Good morning. Yes, I can actually hear you perfectly fine. What's going on?
Nothing much. Just sitting here in my office, ready
Cool. Have our chat. Wonderful.
to chat. Yeah.
Okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, like how nervous are you right now?
Like a 10. I never really done this.
What?
This is insane. And I'm like super nervous.
Oh.
And then when I saw, I don't know, I was like under the impression that it was just Facebook. And then I was like, Twitter, LinkedIn. I was like, that's a lot.
Yeah. No big deal. You know what I mean? I got to, so I've been doing this for a little while now, but I feel like as I make these, do these lives and then most importantly, when I do the live too, what you'll get, I'm gonna send you different copies and reels of like edited stuff that you can put on social media. So it's not just the whole piece of content, but
Oh,
yeah, I'll edit them down into like reels and stuff. So just different like pro tips and things that we can help kind of educate the community with. Most importantly, I feel like in this conversation that we're going to talk a little bit about, I'll ask you some questions. I kind of want to just get your, you know, a rundown on the experience you had. But for new agents, you know what I mean? I actually talked to
yeah.
Emily this morning. I let her know that we were going to jump on live together because I do believe that with you being a new agent, closing your first deal, going through that experience, especially there was a lot of moving parts in that purchase that we had going on, right? That we'll talk a little bit more about. So it's definitely a really good learning tool, which was fantastic. Obviously, had a great result, right? We were able to get to the closing table funded and done in 17 days, huge.
That's
And then kind of moving forward, right? Like, what's your game plan like moving forward? Are you more comfortable? Things like that. So, but yeah, after we're done recording the video, doing the live, I'll chop it up into some reels. You can post it on your socials. That's definitely what I'm going to do because, again, I am always focusing on staying top of mind with potential clients, past clients, family, friends, relatives, etc., which leads me into our first little conversation of your first client was a family member of yours. So,
Yeah, he was. He was actually an in-law family member. He's my husband's uncle, to be exact,
right,
but his aunt was the one that got the loan, and we
right,
together, jointly now they're together in there. And he's a hard man to please or and impress. And
sure,
you know, they had pretty much was like, we've already tried to do this process before. We're not too sure about even going at it. He's like, we're not really sure if you're gonna be able to even show us things that meet our needs, let alone within our capacity
right,
financially. And especially being that in today's, he thought much bigger of himself than he was ready for, in
okay,
my opinion. And I was still able to find him what he wanted within his means, even though that they were a little bit less for himself.
sure. No, that makes perfect sense. And that's, helping family members, a lot of people don't realize when you're in the real estate business or on my case the mortgage side of the business, right? Helping family members, helping people from your sphere of influence, to me I believe is the most one of the most valuable things that we can do here in the community is serving the people closest to us, right? But a lot of times in especially in this business because there's so much at stake, you're dealing with very large numbers, you're dealing with somebody's livelihood, dealing
Mhm.
with family members and relatives and things like that can a lot of times be, I don't want to say difficult, but it can be harder than working with a stranger or somebody that you don't know
Yeah,
personally or have a family relationship with. So, for your first deal to be with a family member, I think was a great, great experience for you.
it was.
Again, learning tool because from the very beginning, I think you were able to kind of learn and get comfortable with setting the proper expectations for that person. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Because,
and
like
I
you said,
mean,
yeah,
it also came from, the education that you were, providing very, I guess, consistently, that helped
sure,
me approach his very combative opinions in that situation.
right,
We're family, so there
sure,
was no hold back to those situations.
sure.
And you and my team gave me the confidence, as well as Emily in our one-on-ones gave me the confidence to approach this with not only like professionalism, but with like a firm like support group that
100%.
also backed our information. And you also made the process beyond incredible
Wow.
for them. It was impressive to them. And
Cool.
that
Thank you.
says
I
a lot.
appreciate that. Yeah, and again, all of that comes down to setting the proper expectations from the very beginning and being on that same page with someone, right? And as a new agent too, and I always encourage all of my new agents that I work with, or really anybody that I work with, that through the discovery process and the introduction process with a new client, I always invite you guys to be on the first phone call because that is my main goal. You know what I mean? When I'm talking to somebody for the very first time, when I'm building that foundation for them as far as like what are they looking for? What are their goals? What does their timeline look like? Things like that. It's all because I want to be able to circle back to setting the proper expectations for that person, right? Rather than from the very beginning letting them kind of lead me away from and take me to a place that I can't get back from. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because a lot of people will do that when they don't have the proper expectations in place, especially in this exact case where you have someone that, unfortunately, they were working with someone prior to you, before you, right? That wasn't able to help them,
Yeah,
didn't set the proper expectations, ended up disappointing them because that wasn't met, right? So
absolutely.
it kind of hurt the beginning part for you, because they're just, when that happens to somebody, they just expect that to be what it is going to be. You know what I mean? They're going to get disappointed again in their head. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
what
absolutely.
did that look like? Like, did they like dig deep into that with you as far as like the
Yeah.
original experience they had?
He gave me actually detail for detail how it was a disaster from,
Yikes.
yeah, from her completely, I'm sorry, from them completely
Yeah.
ignoring their wanting area to be at, their specifications. Like his main thing was he wanted space around the house. It's
Right.
just him and his wife. The house doesn't have to be perfect inside because he could fix it. But we found him a perfect house that he doesn't need to
100
fix it. And
100%.
the land, it was this person just kept showing them like a normal, a
Regular residential.
normal,
Yeah.
yeah, regular backyard, no RV parking, and this man needs two RV side gates. He
Right,
needs
right, right.
deep land. And I just, everything that I showed them, I went into their specifications. And because I know them personally, I went to the details of the house that I know that she would appreciate, because I put myself in their position.
There you
And
go.
I've been a buyer. I've been a buyer that was, I was 8 months pregnant looking for a house and didn't like what I saw sometimes. So I put myself in situations where I wanted to make sure that I used their time with full value and capacity what I was going to show them. So I did
Yeah.
my due diligence in the back to make sure that I heard every detail that they gave me before they had any concerns.
Here we go.
Well, I just honestly, every step of the way, I just thought of how I would have want someone to address my concerns, my needs, my wants in a home and within their means. And I just try to deliver my best. And I was very surprised to hear that they were not only impressed with the list of houses that we saw,
Hmm.
but of how well the houses were meeting their means, that it made them difficult. It made it difficult for them to choose the one.
Ah, so you flipped it on them. Good
Yeah.
job, buddy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good job. Good job. But yeah, no, I mean, to be honest with you, you nailed every part of that, to a T. Where, again, the most important part, again, remember, especially as a newer agent or newer, even just in a general sales role of anything, you need to ask questions. You know what I mean? You ask enough questions to get enough information from the people that you're helping to find them what they're, to set the right expectation for them, to find them exactly what they're looking for. What are their goals? What are all, the important things to them that, again, you can circle back to when you need to. So great job there. And then,
Yes.
being able to fulfill that, and following through each and every way is also extremely important, because, setting them up from the beginning is one thing, and then you were able to follow through, throughout the process. And to remember this, guys, this was not a first time home buyer, by the way. This is somebody that actually owns a current home, a primary residence of their own, of which we had what's called a departing residence. So they're leaving that primary residence, going to this new home. So this
Mhm.
is a family that, again, they've done this before. This is not their first time buying a house. They have been through the process before, and they still had, things that they had to learn, right? That they weren't familiar with, or that, again, expectations weren't met maybe the first time that they bought a house, or it had been such a long time since they bought a house prior, that things are just different. So, educate your clients and ask the questions for sure. So
For
good
sure.
job, buddy.
Thanks.
So, the searching process for the house, I know that when we talked to them, like the first time, I was able to get Chris and Alma's kind of breakdown, like you did, of what they were looking for, expectations, all that stuff. It only took you like what, a couple weeks to be able to identify a property that they actually did want to submit an offer on, right? I think it was maybe 2 or 3 weeks.
2.5, maybe 3 weeks.
Right. So it moved fast for the most part, and that's even in in a market right now where I would say that we have limited inventory. There's not a ton of houses out there for sale, and you were still able to pinpoint and identify kind of something that they fell in love with.
Oh, I believe me, I certainly was skeptical of myself simply because again, he had high expectations
Right.
and it wasn't until I think in the office that he was like, "Thank you." I was like,
He was super thankful. Yeah, yeah.
whoa, that was cool because
Yeah.
again, we have history. I know him personally. It's no
Mhm.
longer, I guess, courteous or cordial when you're first getting to know your clients and
Right. No.
you're breaking down the barriers. There's no barriers anymore. He has no filter in a sense, and he's the fact that he was like impressed not only with the fact that I met all his means in a property within below asking, far below
Mhm.
his expectations, without, I guess, even asking to have that kind of backup at the time. And we far exceeded every expectation he had to the end. It was pretty cool. It was pretty cool to see that he was impressed.
Yeah, great job, buddy. And that's something that on my end I'm always looking to achieve with my clients is being undeniable. You know what I mean? That's it's great to have some built-in rapport with somebody or a relationship prior to or whatever, but we're not always going to have that, right? So what you need to do or what we need to do on our end as experts in the field or as you become an expert in the field and professionals is be undeniable. You know what I mean? Be confident enough, educated enough, familiar enough to establish yourself as somebody that is not going to, there is no way that we're going to have the ball dropped here, right? We're going to get you to your goal. We're going to get you to that finish line. This is how we're going to do it. This is why we have to do these things. And this is, again, what to expect along the way. So,
Absolutely.
make yourself, not just you, but any agent really that's newer in this business, do everything that you can as early as possible to make yourself undeniable with that person, right? Yeah. That's like the Google reviews too. Super duper important because the Google reviews will help build that foundation for you and that reputation for you where it's not just you being undeniable. It's other people that are speaking about your character, your work ethic, what you've done for them, what their experiences are with you. So, again, having the testimonials, the reviews, all of that stuff helps build credibility for you in the community that you're serving, right?
Yeah.
Where just like you, I'm licensed only in Nevada, so I serve only my community and I focus heavily on being the expert in the community. So, good job. You took the first few steps towards that.
Thank you. No, I was really appreciative to you, and your give back to the community is not taken for granted because I use your numbers and it feels great to know them on a weekly basis.
Oh, cool. Thank you. Yeah,
Really
100%.
cool. Thanks for being consistent, and
Yeah.
yeah, I'm super happy with the way things turned out. I was nervous a lot of the times, but you guys, you yourself and my team leader helped me feel confident as well to be like, you know what, just be yourself.
Yep.
You would do the best for your client. And I said, you know what? Okay, let's do this. And we got
Yeah,
it
100%.
done.
And you, as a homeowner too, like going through that experience, and this is one piece of the puzzle too, that in the sales world, I always have to make sure I feel like when you're training someone or when you're in a sales role or whatever, you have to buy into whatever you're doing, selling or what have you, right? So
Yeah,
like if you're selling houses, but you're not a homeowner, right? Again, that's circumstantial. That could be something that's out of reach for you, but it just makes it easier and more relatable to you when you've been through the process yourself, right? Same thing
absolutely.
like if you're selling solar panels, if do you have solar on your house? If you're selling Mercedes. Do you drive a Mercedes? Like it's just
Right.
buying into whatever it is that you're doing and selling somebody makes it that much easier because it's relatable to you. You understand it as the customer, right? So it makes it easier for you to sell the customer. So I'm
Oh,
glad that you said that. That's a really, really good point because you've been through the buying process. I don't know what your experience looked like when you bought your home. I know when I bought my home, right? Even obviously as the mortgage lender, that part was great, but the experience itself with buying in 2021 when the market was absolutely crazy with 35 offers on every property. And not when I bought my house, I couldn't even negotiate price or have a home inspection or anything like that, right? So I remember what that experience was like, so I can speak to that experience when I'm talking to my potential buyers and clients. So it's good to have those experiences, I think. Do you agree?
I absolutely agree. I think that, being a homeowner definitely helped me understand the depth and the capacity that these individuals are making decisions at. This is not just a daily decision, it's a big one. And I wanted to make sure that we
Right.
exceeded their expectations and that not only they were comfortable, but they were ecstatic about their decision and the process and the outcome.
Right. No regrettable decisions with us, that's for sure. So good job. So I just wanted to kind of drill down further into a couple parts of the purchase that were unique, I feel like, or not unique, but they're uncommon with the appraisal part of the house. So I wanted to talk a little bit about how we were able to, even with an appraisal that came in $50,000 below the original asking price, which is phenomenal for our buyers, right? But we had to deal with and handle a not so happy seller side of the equation. So that was definitely interesting and fun, especially for you as a first time experience. And then what else? Yeah, anything else that maybe you came across, whether it was like on the inspection side or just learning kind of some of those moving parts. But let's talk about the appraisal first. So, how familiar were you already with kind of like the appraisal process and all that
So
prior?
when we sold our home, because we also sold our home before we bought my
Oh,
home here
nice. Okay, cool.
on
You've
Northwest
done it
Side.
twice now.
We had we made our home beautiful. There another reason that I went into real estate is because I love creating spaces. I think that any
Awesome.
space has a potential for anything, like whatever it is that you want to touch up and be and make it, we could do it with a little bit of creativity and a little bit of elbow grease, right?
Got it.
So when I did my home, I wasn't planning on moving. I might raise my kids. Both my kids grew up there, but it was just time to. We opened up a business on another side of town, and it was becoming, tenuous on my husband to consistently be so far all
Right.
the time. So it was time to sell it, and we did. And it didn't matter how much I thought I put into my home and what I thought I wanted. I did a phenomenal job, in my opinion. Now,
Mhm.
understood that when an appraisal was to come, everything was going to be valued to, I suppose, um, a return value to it, to like what you would get back from it. So I had
Mhm.
an understanding that they could disagree with what I had in mind. And
Right.
when that was to come, decisions were going to be made.
Mhm.
So when we walked the area, I had looked at the numbers in the surrounding area and I had spoken to my client and I told him, are you comfortable with this? This happens to be one of the most, priciest houses in
Sure.
the area. And he was like, well, do you think it'll appraise at that much? And I was like, well, we don't know. Every appraiser is different, but
Mhm.
their lists are pretty much the same. But let's cross that bridge when we get there. And he was very adamant, like he was like, I'm okay with what I see. I like this. I'm okay with my number, and I'm happy with what.
Mhm.
And I said, well, it's really up to you guys. So they left the house, and as soon I think it was like 5 minutes that they left the house, they called me and they're like, you know what? We're more than happy. I
Okay.
love the house. We want it. It's a awesome price. I would pay that. And they
Right.
were like, let's make an offer, full asking. So
I
when
love
it
it.
actually came back, I think it was the listing agent told me that he has had experience for a very long time in the valley, and that
Mhm.
this is the first time or the second time in his three times decades career that this has ever happened to him, and how could it possibly happen to him?
Right.
And I told him, I completely understand. I had to sell my house and I had to unfortunately swallow and accept that I probably don't am not going to get the $35,000 that I think I deserve in there simply because of a professional value list. And I have to make a decision. Is it really worth keeping over that price, or do I take my price and go?
Right.
I held my ground on that, and I told him I strongly have my client's back, and I know he would not like to pay over appraisal.
Right.
Appraisal is what appraisal is, and we'll pay fully what the house appraises for,
Yeah,
fully.
100%.
And he was like, "Well, we'll see." And then we left it at that. And things then started moving forward after he was like, "Well, my clients are more than happy
Right.
to agree." And then we moved forward. So I guess in that situation, it was more of an individuals trying to use, I guess, seniority and expertise in years to negotiate. So I can have, I guess, a folding hand and not feel as confident in my decision
Right.
to have my clients back. But I still held my ground. I had a great team behind me assuring me that I was doing the best in their interest, as well as they were making the best decision for themselves to benefit themselves at the end.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
feel like everybody ended up being happy with what happened because ev- the team went great. This deal went great. Everyone was happy at the end.
Right. Yeah, that's one thing too. And from the beginning of your story with, again, seeing the house for the first time, talking a little bit about the kind of price point where it's at just in relation to the neighborhood, things like that. Again, setting those proper expectations, right? Because when something does happen or a hurdle does come or whatever the case may be, it's not the first time that someone's hearing of it or a surprise, or we
Right.
don't like surprises in the real estate industry, right? Nobody likes surprises.
Prizes end
So
up being big numbers. So
yes, you don't want surprises. You at least want to have conversations prior to of what the possibilities could be, what could happen, what to possibly expect. Okay. So
mhm.
great job with that. That honestly, for this exact deal was, I think, kind of a game changer. You know what I mean? It needed to be like that.
Yeah.
Because yeah, the appraisal process can be, and how the appraisal process is currently is a very, very good thing for the real estate industry. I don't care if you're a realtor in the industry, a mortgage lender in the industry, whatever, disagreeing with that would not be wise. You know what I mean? The way that it is right now, with how, again, appraisers are handled outside of and separately from the direct mortgage lender, mortgage partner, not
Mhm.
having interaction with us directly, not being able to influence the
Mhm.
appraised value or prices, all that does is protect the consumer and protect the buyer. Okay. So that's very, very important. Now, that's not to be, one of the reasons why we always like to, on our end, get an appraisal ordered and inspected as soon as possible, as soon as we have a fully executed purchase agreement, is so we can get a completed report back as soon as possible in case we need to make any adjustments, or in case there needs to be a reconsideration of value, or in case. You always want to be ahead of the schedule. So on my end of the equation, while you were doing your thing with the seller's agent on your end and having those conversations with him, he was also, because again, he's an older school guy, he's more familiar with how appraisals worked in the past, etc. He was reaching out directly to me as well, and I was, luckily picking up my phone, having conversations with him, being extremely polite and understanding that, trust me, the seller's agent had an understanding with his client that their home is worth X amount of dollars, when in fact, based on the appraisal that we just received, remember, this is a conventional appraisal. It's not an FHA appraisal or a VA appraisal where people believe that values are stricter or tougher to get. This is a regular conventional appraisal, right?
Mhm.
um, Came in substantially less than the seller was expecting, right? So it immediately doesn't make that listing agent look great to his seller, right? He has to bring them some relatively bad news. But again, we're doing everything in our power to hold this thing together for him, right? Willingly, trying to, again, help him as much as possible. So, yeah, based on like whatever upgrade list he had, or the very first thing, of course, what we ask for on the lending side, if we're going to request what's called a reconsideration of value, is additional comparable sales. That's something that we talked about in the very beginning, and we always look at before an offer is submitted, alongside our agents, is what do the comparable sales look like in the area, and do we have an ability to get an appraised value at this offer price, right? Because that's for a lot of new agents that don't know, that's how these deals are made, is through comparable sales with evidence of recorded sales in the neighborhood area within the last 3 months, 6 months, up to 12 months generally. Without those comparable sales, it becomes extremely difficult to get the value that you're looking for, or nearly impossible, especially with a unique property that doesn't have any comparables. So, and this
Right.
property was more unique than others as well, on top of
Mhm.
being on the higher end of the price point.
Right. Absolutely.
So, with all that being said, I mean, it is what it is for the seller side. Again, we had open lines of communication both from your end and my end,
Yeah.
being as helpful and kind of team centric as possible. But again, it is what it is. This is the reality of where we're at with this purchase price. And, our buyers were able to purchase this home
Yeah.
based on those comparable sales and value at $50,000 less than our offer price. So, made a
Absolutely.
huge difference to
And
them.
believe me, he couldn't believe that phone call. He was like, "Really? Really?" They said yes, and I said yes because I told them when things came over. And
Hey, that's what it is. Yeah, 100%. And it, again, it's not because we unfairly are trying to, take away from the seller. Like, again, we did our due diligence as many times over. That's just
absolutely.
what the home and property is worth. So, yeah, I'm glad we were able to get through that. I'm kind of glad that that was part of your first experience and you were able to jump right over that hurdle without too much of a headache, right? So,
Yeah, it was a good experience. Honestly, I had great help. I had I was able to ask questions.
yes.
That was pretty cool that I was able to ask questions to you all the time, questions
Mm-hmm.
to my team lead when I felt I didn't feel confident in my answer, even though it was right.
Sure.
Like I just wanted to make sure that I was doing the best to my capacity and ability and everything around me to ensure that they had a great experience and they got what they wanted. It's their dream home. They don't
Right.
need anything else but that dream home.
Yeah, 100%. And asking questions is so important on every side, not just with the client, not just with your mortgage partner, but always asking questions, you know what I mean? Because every deal that you do, every client you talk to is going to be a learning experience for you,
Mhm.
much like mine is a learning experience every time for me. And I've been in this business, I'm second generation in the mortgage business, been around it my entire life. I've been licensed myself for almost 8 years now. I do this dance many, many times a month, right? But every single time I do, you're learning something new, right? Whether
Right.
it has to do, yeah, whether it has to do with exactly with the transaction, the loan program, the client, the relationship, the seller side, whatever, always try to learn at least one new thing every deal. You know what I mean? So,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
in this exact case, you learned a bunch of new things and you're able to take all of that knowledge to the next. So,
Awesome. I am super ecstatic because now I'm just always searching for something new to learn in every transaction, as well as use everything I do know to
yeah.
take in with confidence. Yeah.
100%. Yeah, be confident. That's another great tip too, is regardless of how much you know at that exact time, right? A lot of people talk about fake it till you make it, which, okay, there's a certain truth to that sort of, but you also have to be, confident, asking questions, educating yourself and setting yourself up for success the right way as well. That way you can serve people accordingly. You know what I mean? So, good job. Okay, the only other thing I wanted to kind of dig into was closing. What was it like attending your first closing, sitting at the closing table, being there with the notary, the clients, myself? Again, I was there with you at the closing table. What was that like the first time?
So I was super excited. I was really excited to see, I guess, my clients um, under cross that threshold and understand and answer any questions in person that they might have had, which
Yeah.
we always had such a great team behind us that they all did their job so diligently that our clients were like, "You've answered anything, everything I was going to ask, but then you followed with what you said." And it was just it was just such a cool experience to see all the professionals work together and get, this process done beautifully, that my very busy client, even though he's family, he's still a client.
Yeah.
My first priority was him being my client and getting my client to success and happiness. He was up and at work at 5 in the morning. We had a closing at 11. He came and stopped between his lunch, and it was done before he knew it with a donut, which was his prize. Expectations beyond met be there on like just kindness and a just really cool connection with him. And he was like, wow, this was the easiest thing I've ever done, basically.
Mhm. Right, buying
And
a almost $600,000 house being easy, right?
that's exactly what I think was super impressive to him, the fact that this process was immensely calming. It was informative. He felt extremely happy and satisfied in every single aspect of our performance in this process for him, that
Right.
professionally, he just respected everything and was
Awesome.
proud.
I'd love to hear that. And that's something that I would suggest to you kind of just throughout your career is, and this is for all realtors, try to go to your closings. Like that's the good
Oh,
time. You know what I mean? Like
so there.
that is our reward for doing a great job, to see again the client at the closing table, be there with them, make them comfortable, and then again getting them through the finish line. That's our reward as the experts that help them do that, right? It
Mhm.
blows my mind when I have a realtor that doesn't show up to the closing table. It blows my mind when I hear about 95% of mortgage lenders don't go to the closing table. Like that's crazy. Like
It's
you
crazy.
some of them can't, right? Obviously, because if you deal with an online lender or someone that works in another state, I mean that's just on you. But getting everyone there at the finale
Yeah.
and having a good time is how you build up referrals, how you're able to get the testimonials, how you're able to, again, build that lifelong. And again, these are family members of yours, so they're not going anywhere, but to make sure that that person sticks with you for the rest of their life anytime they think about real estate. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I genuinely felt really proud of myself at the end of the threshold. And I was like, we need to continue doing this over and over and over and over and over again,
Yes.
because just seeing their genuine happiness and being so satisfied with being immensely, I guess, just they were all their expectations were far exceeded, from the house
Yeah.
that they got to the price that they got to the process that they got to the
Yeah.
professionals around them, was just amazing.
Yeah.
That What's
And I
beautiful.
didn't we don't even have to get into too much detail too about like all of the specifics of it, but this particular family is, they're self-employed business owners, right?
Yeah.
That alone for a lot of people is a large hurdle to cross, or sometimes or they believe an insurmountable object, right? Oh, I own my business, it's too hard for me to qualify, this and that. Easy, no problem. Took care of it in the beginning, out of the
Absolutely.
way, right? They have a current home that they own, a primary residence. They have, they're leaving, they're departing that residence. Easy, no problem, right? It's just a matter of, again, setting those expectations, working with experts, and making sure that all of these questions get answered in the very beginning. That way, during the actual process of the purchase, once you have a fully executed purchase agreement, you do not want surprises, right? So,
Absolutely.
realtors,
Absolutely. Those are places.
check those pre-approval letters with the people that are submitting offers to you. Make sure that make sure that pre-approval and that lender has done their due diligence, because it's
It
important, right?
matters.
It's a big difference between closing in 14 days versus closing maybe never, but in 60 days. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah. And again, they
um,
were impressed
oh,
with the fact
cool.
that we started for offer to negotiation to closing table like 18 days.
Yeah, I want to say so. They signed their 1003, which is our what 1003 is an application, mortgage application, on May 4th. And our actual wire disbursement, meaning the day that we funded the loan and closed, was May 20th. So 16 days.
16 days.
Crazy. All right. What is one or two other small pieces of advice you could give to a new agent, much like yourself, that they haven't funded their first deal, or they're prospecting and they don't have anyone just yet under contract, or what are you doing to get more business on your end, and kind of what advice would you give them?
Participate in your community. Honestly,
I love that.
your biggest asset to yourself and your community is to be out there and do something that you want to see done. We can't just wait around and hope, oh, I hope this happens. Let's go make it. Let's go make it happen. Let's go be part of someone's day and difference and have a conversation. Do you know someone that I could help? Do they know someone they know that I could help? Because in
Right.
community, I'm just here to help and answer questions. And, I'm blessed to be able to have um, the Hispanic culture with me, that I speak Spanish and I translate and I read, and I can also help people that speak Spanish that don't understand the process of buying their home or qualifying or what those things mean or what escrow means and those things.
Right.
Just be out there, be yourself and be out there,
Yep.
but be
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah, you have to be out there. You have to show the people that are around you, show your community, show your neighbors, show your family members that you are the expert and the go-to person. That actually brings me, like, how did they find out that you were a realtor? Like, out of curiosity, how did your family find that out to use you as their realtor?
Well, I have always been able to decorate my house the way that I wanted to. So
Okay.
I would always speak freely about how I want to get in real estate or want to get in real estate until I decided to finally take the leap and do it. I would had wonderful encouragement and
Hmm.
by Emily Harrison. She was such a wonderful coach to like bring me on to the journey and help me get through the process of the classes and stuff, because
Right.
that was my initial struggle. I did start in like 2020. My kids were both in school.
Right.
I got to quiet time. I got to go to school too. And then, the pandemic happened and then everybody's at home and then everybody's at home doing school. And then you can't do school because there's two different schools that need you at the same
Right.
time. So it was difficult and it really stopped a lot because we also have a business ourselves. So I
Hmm.
also have the family business mind where business first and then pleasure later. And to me, real estate is a passion. It's
I
not a
love that.
me. It's honestly something that is going to change people's lives for them and for myself, because my huge goal at the end is to give as much back. We definitely have to be the change we want to see. And that's really big for me. And that's an ultimate goal of all of this for me.
Right.
And so yeah, I decided that we needed to take full reins and I did it. And I just was telling people, hey, if you have any questions real estate, I'm doing real estate now. And that's
Love
before I
it.
got my license, because I can only tell family.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
When I finally got it, they were like, no way. And I was like, yes.
Let's
Yes.
go.
So he was like, straight up, if I'm going to work with anybody, it's going to be with family.
Right.
And I was like, I'm honored, because he had other options within the family and
Yikes.
within other sides of the family. But what
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was saying
Yeah.
is that he chose me simply because he personally knows that I'm tenacious, I'm bilingual, I'm going to cater to his wife and make sure that she understands the process as well, because she's, Spanish is
Sure.
her first language and he fully understands everything, but sometimes she just needs a little bit of the translation for her.
Hmm.
We gave her the
Made him comfortable.
yeah, for sure. And it was really awesome, but I had high expectations as well, because I knew him personally that he's not super easy to impress.
Hmm.
And he's a professional. And from business owner to, our family is business owners as well. There's a level of expectation when it comes to professionalism and to deals and dealing with big parts of their lives.
Yeah. 100%. Well, I'm glad you chose us to be able to help because yes, yeah, I'm with you.
Honestly, I felt with everything that I had seen with you consistently from meeting you and being, because I met you through Emily. Emily,
Yeah.
was like, this is the guy that gets stuff done, and he's the one that's going to help make the best deals and process happen. And I was like, let's go. If
Yeah.
anyone can get it done, then is this person. And you did not disappoint.
Oh, well,
And
thank you.
any
Thank you.
step of
Thank
the
you.
way.
It's nice sometimes when kind of a reputation precedes you, hopefully the right way. You know what I mean? So the more that you do, again, with your clients in the community, the same thing's going to happen for you because you did a phenomenal job helping your family members. And I can tell that kind of moving forward, that as long as you continue to replicate that,
I
follow those same processes and steps that you did, you're going to crush it. So good job.
appreciate that. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Absolutely. So there you go, guys. Listen to Iris. Talk to your family members, your neighbors.
Don't be a
Have
secret agent.
Yes, have at least 10 conversations about real estate a day. That's kind of what I'd
Yeah.
like to tell people. Minimum 10 conversations a day, whether they go nowhere, they're pointless, whatever, but bring up the fact that you are a real estate agent at least 10 times a day. Have those conversations and phone calls and text messages or whatever you have to do, because that's how, a lot of times people aren't lucky to have a second job or another business or another person in the household or whatever. So you got to make it happen, right? You have to make it
Absolutely.
happen.
Absolutely. Got to get out there.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Well, good job. I don't want to hold you too long. I appreciate you
Thank
hopping
you.
on with me. Any questions for me or anything you need from me before I let you go?
Um, a question for you. Are there
Oh,
any new programs that
okay.
we should be on the lookout for that
100%.
any of my real estate professionals could benefit from?
Yeah. So for all of the realtors too, I think the most popular program that we have going on is kind of twofold right now and has been for a little while now, which is most of the time for first time home buyers, but that's the FHA down payment grant, again, where the up to FHA Clark County loan limits, right? So you're talking about somewhere in that $500,000 purchase price range. They can get 3.5% down payment, fully granted, forgiven at closing, basically eliminating or dramatically reducing their out of pocket expense. Huge because it's not down payment assistance, it's an actual grant. Now, on the other hand, we also have the conventional zero down program currently, which that is a down payment assistance program. That'll get somebody up to $15,000 in down payment funds. It is a super helpful tool. Does not have to be a first time home buyer, but that is one of the options to qualify. But both are super good, right? Because most of the people that you talk to, a lot of times, especially first time home buyers or young families, the hardest thing for them to get over, the biggest hurdle for them is the down payment usually.
Mhm.
So, you got to have these tools in place with the right partners at the right time to be able to have the right conversations with someone to make them a client. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for
boom.
having me. Thank you so much for sharing that. And
You're
I hope
welcome.
that I will be working with you soon.
Let's go. Keep up the great work, Iris. I loved working with you. I
Thank
hope you
you.
guys have a wonderful day. Just remember, as I always say, of course, who you partner with matters. It
Matters.
matters. All right.